Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Symbiotic Spores, Hundreds of Millions of Deductions, Infinite Evolution. 1. Chapter 1. Origin Symbiosis, Full Level Fit. Aoyama City. Sunny number 1 Middle School, in the classroom of Class 8 of Senior 3. Yian stared blankly at the podium. After a few minutes, one thing was finally confirmed. He not only traveled to high school, but also ran to a parallel world. As for the evidence, it is also obvious. That is, although the teachers and classmates are the same group of people. But the worldview has completely changed. This planet is no longer called Blue Star, but Zuxing. Because human beings now have a total of 99 planets for survival and reproduction. As the birthplace of human civilization, Blue Star was also renamed Zuxing. As for the classroom, teachers and students are no longer discussing learning issues. It is the choice of symbionts and the precautions after fusion of symbionts. Includes some basics on how to make symbionts evolve. In addition, what other experiences, institutions of higher learning, etc. Just when Yian listened to all kinds of information that others seemed to take for granted, he was stunned. A memory flashed in an instant. Feeling this memory, Yian immediately understood. This is a parallel world, the memory of my life. Suddenly, Yian also completely understood all this. This is a world where spiritual energy is revived and all races are at war. Humans have been fighting in the endless battlefield for more than 10,000 years. After going through all kinds of hardships, he finally gained a firm foothold in the strife of all ethnic groups. And from the two-legged sheep recognized by all ethnic groups at first, it has become a powerful race ranked in the top 10. And the reason why human beings can achieve such achievements among the thousands of races where gods and demons are everywhere. It relies on the innate ability awakened after the aura is revived, origin symbiosis. Human race in this world, as long as the age is close to 18 years old. You can go to the source space and choose the source of life to fuse with your own soul for symbiosis. After symbiosis, humans can acquire the abilities and characteristics of the symbiont object. At the same time, it will also be able to absorb spiritual power and cultivate to become a powerful superhuman. While the origin of symbiosis can be selected, but to merge with your own soul still depends on the fit. Some people who are chosen by heaven can fuse with the origin of the dragon to coexist with it effortlessly. After that, it soared straight into the sky. Some people are unwilling to only fit in with wild dogs, and forcefully choose more powerful creatures. However, he was attacked by the symbiotic object, and he fell into a demon. There are also people who contract pheasants, but they are unwilling to fall, and they work hard to become stronger. In the end, it continued to evolve, and it was reborn from the ashes to become the divine phoenix. Therefore, the symbiotic object is not the stronger the better, but the more fit the better. As long as you practice hard and look for opportunities for evolution, you can also become stronger. It is not a legend that a turtle turns into a basalt, and a carp turns into a golden dragon. There are countless examples in the history of the human race for thousands of years. So as long as you work hard, anything is possible. After figuring it all out, Yian also started to look forward to it. Because today is the day when he enters the origin space and chooses the origin of all living beings to coexist with it. I don't know what kind of life contract I can coexist with at that time. I'm finally entering the source space, I'm looking forward to it. Haha, I'll make a contract with the origin of a giant dragon later, and it will soar into the sky. Have ambition, when the time comes, you will be beaten to death by a demon, I will help you burn some paper money. Haha, just kidding, it would be nice if I could make a contract. No matter how hard I practice in the future, it will be better than being an ordinary person. After lunch, all the senior high school students came to the school playground with excited expressions on their faces. After a several lecture from the school leaders, the third-year high school students who stood there for 2 hours finally let their consciousness enter the source space under the light of the awakening crystal. This is an indescribable world. Everything seems to be there seems to be nothing. Suddenly, at a certain moment, the origin of all creatures in the world appeared in front of Yian. Yian was dazzled by the countless imprints of origin. Yian concentrated, his mind moved slightly, and the mark of a giant dragon with wings appeared in front of him. Next moment, a sense of resistance emerged. In fact, It also contains a strong sense of contempt. Yian immediately understood that this giant dragon could not be his symbiotic object. Forcibly accepting it as one's own will only cause one's own mental breakdown, which is what people call degenerate. Of course, with the powerful personality of the dragon, you will most likely die on the spot. You don't even have the qualifications to become a demon. Since the dragons of the West can't. Then the screen turned, and an Eastern blue dragon appeared. Or resistance and contempt. Next, Yian tried many powerful species. Angels, demons, elves, all kinds of mythical beasts, even some monsters and monsters. But all failed without exception. Sure enough, my destiny is not that hard, so I'd better choose an ordinary one. Yian sighed and lowered his request. Start choosing among ordinary beasts. However, resist, or resist. The stay in the awakening space is only 3 hours. It's been more than an hour now, and it's all resistance, and I haven't even met a symbiotic object of affinity. Yian gradually frowned. In this situation, even if the symbiotic object he chose was an ordinary sparrow, it is impossible to succeed at all. And if 3 hours pass and no choice can be made, then he can only be an ordinary person in this life. Just when Yian was worried, a mysterious mechanical voice suddenly sounded. Ding, the God-level deduction system is loaded. It is detected that the host is looking for a symbiotic object, whether to deduce the compatibility of the symbiosis between the organism and the host. After hearing the sound, Yian breathed a sigh of relief, and the originally depressed expression completely dissipated. It was replaced by a look of joy. He, who is familiar with novels, naturally knows how powerful the system is. Myself as a traveler, sure enough, there is a system. And the ability of this system can just solve its current problems. Start the game. Yian was happy and gave an order. Ding, the host's previous choice has been ruled out, and the deduction has officially begun. Start to deduce mythical creatures. The deduction is over, there is no suitable symbiotic object. Start the deduction of natural disaster level creatures. The deduction is over, there is no suitable symbiotic object. Begin to deduce the monster level. Start the deduction of natural elements. The deduction is over, there is no suitable symbiotic object. Start the deduction of ordinary creatures. The deduction is over, and 2 symbiotic objects with a fit of 30% and 50% are found. Start the deduction of plants. The deduction is over, and a symbiotic object with a fit of 60% is found. Start to deduce fungal spores, etc. Start the game. Quote. The deduction is over. This deduction is about 520 million times. A total of 15 symbiotic objects are available for the host to choose from. About 10 minutes later, the system beep finally ended. An illusory panel was displayed in front of Yian. Play 520 million times. There are only 15 kinds in total. See this result. Yian was dumbfounded. If there is no systematic deduction, just this result, even let him stay in the awakening space for 100 years. It is estimated that it is also difficult to find a suitable symbiotic object. Let's see first, what are there? Yian looked at the optional list. Then he frowned again. Fitness 10%, 13%, 12%. As far as these fits, if I choose symbiosis, I'm afraid it's not a pill on the spot. Could it be that I'm destined to be just an ordinary person? Just when Yian was almost disheartened, suddenly I saw a very dreamy number at the bottom of the list. Fitness, 99.9%. Compatible symbiont object, primitive spore. Quote exclamation mark quote. Asterisk. Symbiotic spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 2. Chapter 2. Primordial spores, evolution potion. See this result. Yian was so excited that he didn't know what to say. As far as this fit is concerned, this primitive spore is definitely the most suitable symbiotic object for him. None of them. I just don't know what kind of creature this primitive spore is. So Yian started to check the information of the original spore out of curiosity. Pristine spores. Primitive and ordinary spores can quickly grow into delicious mushrooms in a suitable environment. Close black lens bracket. That's it. Seeing the introduction, Yian was dumbfounded. This primitive spore is no different from the weeds on the roadside. No, there is still a difference. At least the weeds on the roadside can't be eaten casually. But this primordial spore grows very delicious. After a while of sadness and helplessness, Yian still used the original spore as a symbiotic object. The reason is simple. He has no choice. And now this protospore looks weak. But no one can say what will happen in the future. Ding, please don't worry, host. After the deduction of this system, the original spore has a huge evolutionary potential. At this moment, the system suddenly reminded. Hear what the system says. Yian's originally depressed mood instantly vanished. Since the system says the potential is huge, then this primitive spore definitely has a bright future. I just don't know how far it will grow in the future. Shouldn't be too bad. ... Congratulations, you have successfully coexisted with the origin of life. This is a bottle of source stabilization potion, and a bottle of ability awakening potion. After selecting the symbiotic object, Yian's consciousness suddenly changed. Finally, a strange-looking scarecrow appeared in front of him. At the same time, each hand holds a bottle of medicine. Can you replace the source stabilization potion with the ability awakening potion? Yian asked while looking at the scarecrow. He remembered that the teacher said that the benefits of these two bottles of different medicines can be exchanged for each other. But after integrating the origin of symbiosis, no one dares to say that their symbiotic origin must be stable. Therefore, a bottle of source stabilization potion will be selected. This strengthens the stability of the symbiotic origin. The scarecrow's eyes flashed a ray of light. The stabilization potion in the left hand was instantly switched to the same ability awakening potion as the right hand. Friendly reminder, before you take the potion, you can replace it. Once the medicine is taken, it will not be replaced. Then the scarecrow's voice sounded again. Unnecessary. Yian shook his head and took away 2 bottles of potions. Close to 100% fit, if you want to stabilize the potion. Then you don't have to dream of an extraordinary person. Then may your evolutionary path never end. Finally, the scarecrow gave Yian a deep look. After saying a word of blessing, he disappeared. Consciousness spins again. Opening his eyes, Yian found that he had returned to the school playground smoothly. At the same time, all the senior high school students also opened their eyes one after another. Think about it carefully, this ability is really powerful. Look at the other students who slowly opened their eyes. Yian couldn't help sighing. In the awakening space, and in the space where you talk to the scarecrow. No matter how long it has been, eventually everyone will wake up at one point in time. The law of time. No, it should belong to the interference of consciousness, so that everyone's consciousness wakes up at the same time. Yian muttered to himself. If it is really the law of time, it is not worth using them for the newly awakened newcomers. Ah, help me. Just when Yian was cranky, a piercing voice sounded not far away. Yian turned to look. Found a student, rolling on the ground in pain. The body began to tear layer by layer, and a huge original imprint was looming. The original creatures of the devil. Look at this situation, it is backlash. Yian was surprised. It was the first time he had seen the backlash with his own eyes. To be honest, this scene is really shocking. But he can only blame that person for being too greedy. It is absolutely unwilling to have an ordinary symbiotic origin, and then forcibly choose a more powerful origin. In the end, the soul cannot bear and leads to tragedy. The whole person is wriggling and twisting, which is even scarier than the devil. Fortunately, I will not have this situation. Yian said with a sigh. This scene is really intriguing. Many students didn't even dare to watch it. Seeing this, the school's teacher hurriedly used special means to suppress the backlash of this classmate. Immediately sent to the hospital. With any luck, this student will strip away the origin of symbiosis and become an ordinary person. Bad luck, or give up treatment. Or it can temporarily suppress the symbiotic origin. But from now on, not only will he not be able to cultivate, but he will even face the pain of backlash at any time. Every year there are people who believe that their destiny is extraordinary, but unfortunately the reality is so cruel. At this moment, a familiar voice sighed. Yian turned his head and saw a beautiful figure standing beside him. So why did you choose 2 bottles of awakening potion? Lu Ruhu pointed at Yian's hands and said angrily. As a teacher, she made 3 orders and 5 applications, and she must not be greedy. It is even necessary to exchange 2 bottles of stabilizing potion with the scarecrow. It's a big deal to wake up later. The stability of the source is the top priority. But Yi An's behavior didn't seem to take her words into consideration. Don't worry, teacher, I have confidence. Yi An knew that the other party was worried about him. So he explained with a serious face. You, forget it, just make up your mind. If you regret it, you can contact me. I have a bottle of stabilizing potion here. Lu Ruhua hesitated before speaking, and finally said with a sigh. Yi An was also slightly moved after hearing this. A bottle of stabilizer on the market is not cheap. At least hundreds of thousands of federal coins. And Lu Ruhua meant to give it to him for free. I didn't expect to be reborn into a parallel world. My own beautiful teacher, be so good to yourself. Looking at the back of Lu Ruhua leaving, Yi An couldn't help but think of some things from his previous life. Next, Symbiote Origin integrates successful students, after simple registration. They all left school and went home. As for most of the students who didn't wake up, it is to stay and continue to study in order to be admitted to a good literary school in the future. This cultivation method is really ordinary. Back home, Yi An sat on the bed, looked at a piece of paper in his hand and muttered. There is almost no cultivation method in this world. Because each person's symbiosis is different, the process of cultivating is also different. Therefore, the training methods given are the simplest way to breathe out spiritual power. I want to find a training method that works for me. Only rely on yourself to adjust the way of cultivation little by little. Can the system deduce this? If possible, deduce it into the most suitable method for my cultivation. Yi An suddenly thought of the system. Begin to communicate and ask. Ding, the training method deduction begins. According to the host's physical condition and the origin of symbiosis, it is being adjusted. Ding, the deduction is over. A total of 52 million deductions this time. Successfully deduce the best cultivation method for the current host. The system prompts a series of prompts. From start to finish. It took less than 10 minutes in total. Then a brand new training material appeared in Yi An's mind. Yi An also immediately tried to practice according to the content of the document. In just 1 minute, the spiritual power in the air was successfully drawn into the body. In 10 minutes, enough spiritual power was refined, and the cultivation base successfully reached the first level black iron. From an ordinary person, he jumped to the bottom of the extraordinary. This cultivation method is amazing. It takes an average of 1 to 3 days for ordinary people, and it takes 1 hour for the top genius of all mankind in 100 years. And it only took me 10 minutes to successfully acquire a cultivation base and become an extraordinary person admired by ordinary people. This speed will directly smash the genius of all mankind. Feel the power of your own cultivation. Yi An said excitedly. Have to say, it feels really cool to hang up. Asterisk. Symbiotic Spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 3. Chapter 3. Crazy evolution, delicious mushrooms. Although he has become a coveted superhuman. But the black iron level is also the weakest group, basically not much different from ordinary people. So Yi An exclaimed, it is also time to start practicing. The night passed. Yi An slowly opened his eyes. Feel your own cultivation. He immediately began to frown. After 1 night, it's only the middle stage of black iron. The black iron level is the level that requires the least spiritual power. According to my cultivation speed, I should have entered the bronze level. Yi An looked puzzled. If he was groping by himself, he would be very happy to have the cultivation of the first level black iron in the past night. But he practiced according to the best practice method given by the system. I didn't expect the efficiency to be so bad. System, what's going on? Yi An asked in his mind. Ding, the spiritual power of heaven and earth is thin here. It can only be used for normal cultivation to the first level of black iron. If you want to continue to improve, you can only spend more time. This time, the system didn't even have the process of speculating. The answer is given directly. The spiritual power is thin. Correct. Where ordinary people live, the concentration of spiritual power is not allowed to be too high. So the Academy of the Superhuman is either built in the heaven and blessed land, or it is independent on a planet. Yi An suddenly remembered something. That is to say, I want to practice normally in the future. You must leave the area where ordinary people live. But at this time, Zhu Xing, apart from the Academy, has no place for cultivation at all. He also has no money to send to other planets suitable for cultivation. And want to go to college. You must also participate in the newcomer experience of the extraordinary. The place of experience is also suitable for practice. But that would have to be 2 days later. Forget it, let's make do with these 2 days. When you get to the place where you can practice for the exam, you will be able to practice normally. Now, it's time to consider the awakening ability. Yian murmured, but what worries him is such a weak symbiotic object. What abilities can be awakened? System, help me deduce it. These 2 bottles of medicine can make me awaken what abilities? Yian started to communicate the system. Awakening ability is not a random awakening after drinking a potion, but after getting familiar with their symbiotic objects. To awaken a certain ability or characteristic of the other party. This process relies on perseverance. For example, the symbiotic object is a wolf. Then you have to keep thinking about getting the nimble speed of the wolf, or the bite ability of a wolf. Only then will the corresponding abilities be awakened smoothly. And the original spore itself. Yian's impression of it is that it is delicious. Other than that, I can't really think of any other abilities. So if you don't let the system deduce it, after drinking the ability awakening potion by yourself, there is a high probability that a more delicious taste will evolve. Ding, the analysis has been completed for you. The current awakening direction of the host's symbiotic origin is divided into 6 sequences. Please choose your own choice to unlock the 2 sequences of awakening. Said the system. An evolution list is also presented in Yian's mind. Open black lens bracket growth close black lens bracket open black lens bracket perception close black lens bracket open black lens bracket toxin close black lens bracket open black lens bracket parasite close black lens bracket open black lens bracket drain close black lens bracket open black lens bracket evolution close black lens bracket. Growth. Accelerates the growth and reproduction of spores. Perception. Gain a certain perception ability. Toxin. Gain a certain amount of toxicity. Parasitic. Quote. Evolution. Speed up the evolution of symbiotic origin while strengthening other abilities. Look at this one explanation. Yian suddenly fell into silence. Looking at all kinds of things, but the overall feeling is very weak. The only thing you can see at the moment is toxins. But what if it's poisonous? Throwing mushrooms in your face. Moreover, the toxicity of just awakening is not necessarily so powerful. System, according to the current situation, recommend me a choice. Finally, Yian said with a sigh. He really didn't know how to choose. It's better to let the system do the work and choose the 2 most suitable options. Ding, the deduction is over. Under the current circumstances, the host is suitable to choose growth perception. The host has to go through newcomer training next. The ability to awaken with 2 bottles of medicine is limited, and it mainly depends on his own hard power. Growth plus perception allows the host's ability to quickly form an intelligence network. The current situation of the host requires sufficient development time. At present, it only needs to pass through the previous experience stably. System suggested. Then do as you say. Yian nodded. Indeed, his own symbiote is very weak now. But with so many awakening options, they will develop slowly in the future, and they will definitely not be weak. So all you need is development time. Thinking of this, Yian picked up 2 bottles of awakening potions and drank them. In an instant, a scorching heat spread throughout his body. But it didn't take long for the heat to disappear. In its place is a feeling of coolness. Very comfortable. A high degree of fit is good. I don't even need to actively transform this power, and the symbiote will automatically start to awaken its ability. Yian couldn't help sighing. Ding, congratulations to the successful awakening of the host growth sequence. You have acquired the characteristics of 2 symbiotic origins of rapid growth and rapid reproduction. Ding, congratulations on the successful awakening of the host perception sequence. You have acquired the characteristics of 2 symbiotic origins of fuzzy perception and intelligence sharing. Ding, you have additionally awakened the talent skill, spore formation. It's amazing. 2 bottles of potions have awakened a total of 4 characteristics, and additionally awakened innate skills. Is it easier to awaken because it's too weak? Or is it because of the primordial spore's characteristics that I can get 2 characteristics in one awakening? Yian thought about it and felt that it was the latter. Of course it could also be a fit issue. It is indeed easier to awaken the ability when the fit is high. I just don't know what the effect is and how fast it grows. Yian murmured. He stretched out his right hand and activated the skill, spore formation. A handful of spores immediately emerged. Each spore is almost invisible to the naked eye. For a full hand, the amount must be calculated in units of billions. But consider the survival rate. These numbers are normal. Next, Yian came to the balcony and shoveled out the worthless little cactus in the flower pot. After watering the soil, Yian sprinkled it on the flower pot casually. These spores immediately began to take root and germinate. Within a minute, white hyphae appeared in front of us. But these hyphae do not seem to satisfy the soil of the pot. Start to grow rapidly outwards. 5 minutes later, the small half of the balcony was covered with cobweb-like mycelium. It appears that the soil does not have enough nutrients for the mycelia to continue to grow. So the hyphae finally stopped expanding outward. Rather, it slowly converges. Eventually it all shrinks into the pot. Then one by one mushrooms grew rapidly and appeared. It tastes a bit like a banana. But it tastes really good, better than the strawberries I've eaten once. Yian picked a mushroom and tasted it. Simultaneously activate abilities, fuzzy perception, intelligence sharing. So another vision appeared in Yian's mind, and a huge mosaic picture emerged. In this mosaic picture that even my mother can't see the level. Yian saw a huge and vague figure, bent down, and picked a mushroom. When the mushrooms were picked, this field of vision disappeared in an instant. It looks like you can only get vision by touching the mushroom or this mycelium. The specific situation is okay, at least you can distinguish whether it is a human or a monster. Yian complained. Consider that mushrooms do not have eyes. It is not bad to have this mosaic picture quality. Asterisk. Symbiotic Spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 4. Chapter 4. The assessment begins, the Bronze Gate. After breakfast, Yian continued to go back to the bed to meditate and practice. There is nothing to do at home these 2 days. Although the efficiency of cultivation is very poor, it is better than doing nothing at all. Near noon, Yian's cell phone rang suddenly. Looking at the caller information, Yian found out that it was his beautiful teacher. Hello, teacher, do you have anything to do with me? Yian answered the phone and asked suspiciously. Is your symbiotic origin okay? Lu Ruhua came up and asked directly. Don't worry, teacher, it's fine. And I have also successfully cultivated and officially entered the ranks of the extraordinary. Yian replied with a smile. He also immediately understood why the other party contacted him. Your cultivation speed is not bad. However, don't be careless about the origin of symbiosis. As soon as you think there is a problem, contact me immediately. Quote. In this way, Lu Ruhua told her repeatedly. This hung up the phone. Is the speed good? It is estimated that teacher Lu thinks that I have just stepped into the ranks of the extraordinary. I don't know if I will scare her if I tell the truth. Yian thought about it, and finally decided that it would be better not to say it. The 1-hour cultivation success was praised as a rare cultivation genius in 100 years. Seems like infinite scenery, but after the news spread, it was attacked 3 times by Wanzhou within a month. The reason is simple. The human race is already strong enough. No other race wants to see another super powerful human race. Moreover, the symbiosis of the origin of the human race has given human beings the ability of all races. No one knows this genius that is rare to see in 1,000 years. What kind of special ability does he possess, and to what extent will he grow? So it is better to kill it in advance. But the strong man of the human race is not a decoration. How can it be possible to sit back and watch the genius of the native race be killed by the foreign race? Therefore, Wanzhou's conspiracy failed in the end. But even so, Yian didn't dare to expose his situation casually. If you succeed in 1 hour of cultivation, you have to suffer this kind of treatment. 10 minutes of their own things exposed. On average, it is very rare to be attacked once a day. I was afraid that the god-level powerhouse of his 10,000 clans would also pull down his face and kill him. Anyway, it's the same as the truth that money is not revealed. Don't show too much talent yourself. Although the strong human race will definitely not sit idly by then. He can also enjoy higher resource treatment. But, there is only one small life after all. It is better not to gamble as much as possible. The day passed quickly. That night, Yi An's cultivation was still in the middle stage of black iron. But he felt like he was about to break through. So after dinner, Yi An practiced all night again. Early the next morning, Yi An opened his eyes with joy. Through his unremitting efforts, the cultivation base finally broke through the later stage. In addition to being happy, Yi An decided to keep practicing. There's nothing else to do anyway. It was like this until the morning of the examination. Yi An's cultivation finally broke through again and reached the peak of black iron. This is me. After training, Yi An came to the mirror. Looking at the unshaven beard, he said in surprise to a pair of dark circles. Although he has become a superhuman, but the level is still too low. During these 3 days, apart from eating, it is cultivation. Haven't been able to sleep. Therefore, the mental state is not very good. The training test is about to begin, and it's too late to sleep now. Yi An shaved off his beard, washed his face and went straight to school. To the school playground, Yi An found that many people had already come early. Most of the people got together according to their respective classes and discussed their cultivation experience. Yi An has no friendship with anyone in the class. Not too lazy to gather around to join in the fun. So simply sit down and rest in the corner of the playground. Before the assessment begins, prepare to practice for a while. Our high school class 3 and 8 did not gather here. Just then, a familiar voice sounded. Yi An turned his head and saw something flying towards him. After subconsciously caught, only then did Yi An realize that it was a bag of Xiaolong Bao. After breakfast, take the time to close your eyes and rest for a while. There is no point in continuing to practice now. Lu Ruhua stared at Yi An's dark circles and said. By the way, he handed me a glass of soy milk. Good teacher. Yi An took the soy milk and nodded inwardly. Whether in the past or now, my condition can only be described in one word. That is, poor. And not only poor, I have no relatives or friends. Lu Ruhua knew this, so often bring him breakfast. In his previous life, he had no money to go to college, and Lu Ruhua also helped out with the money. It can be said that in Yi An's mind, it is not an exaggeration to say that Lu Ruhua is his only relative. You work hard enough. Just perform well in the next training, but don't work too hard. It's not worth it in case of an accident. With your talent, you should be able to go to a good school, and you won't have to be so poor in the future. Lu Ruhua looked at Yi An, and said after being silent for a while. I will work hard. Yi An nodded earnestly. He glanced at Lu Ruhua suspiciously. Because he always felt that Lu Ruhua looked at him strangely. As if expecting something. Could it be that he is too handsome? Ahem, this is my beloved teacher. Anyway, you should be thinking more. So Yi An stopped thinking about it and continued to work hard. Lu Ruhua, who was on the side, glanced at Yi An again. Also choose to turn around and leave. After all, besides Yi An, she has a group of students to manage. Yi An's relationship with the classmates has not progressed throughout the semester. Now she won't force Yi An to blend into the class atmosphere. After eating the breakfast brought by Lu Rugia, Yi An closed his eyes and rested for a while. Just when he almost fell asleep, the school broadcast sounded suddenly. Students, please pay attention. 10 minutes to start the newcomer experience. Over the years, the mortality rate of newcomers has been as high as 10%. The serious injury rate is also 30%. If anyone wants to quit, please leave the playground within 10 minutes. The experience will start in 10 minutes. Quote. Students, please pay attention. Rookie experience. Quote. The school radio reminded 3 times. After the reminder is over, the students all over the playground were talking again. But Yi An didn't see anyone choosing to leave. The data on injury rate and death rate have always been made public. If someone gave up the experience, they would not come to school today. That's it. 10 minutes later, all teachers exit the playground. A huge bronze door slowly emerged in the sky. When the bronze door was opened, countless streamers fell, connecting to every student on the playground. The final light flickered. Everyone was teleported away by the bronze door. Immediately after, the bronze door slowly closed, disappeared above the cloud sky. The newcomer experience is officially open. Symbiotic Spores. hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 5. Chapter 5. Mycelium spreads, be patient. Ding, student number 10,086, welcome to the training ground number 9527. You now have up to half an hour to prepare. The protective cover will automatically close after half an hour. Of course you can also choose to leave in advance. But before that, please choose your initial weapon. A place of practice. A light blue shield 5 meters in diameter enveloped Yian. Above the shield, a light curtain appeared in front of him. If it's a weapon, choose this dagger, it's easy to bring it with you. Yian stretched out his hand towards the phantom of the dagger. The next moment, the protective cover immediately began to fade. All the energy began to pool, and eventually turned into a dagger. Rookie student number 10,086, do you agree with others to watch your training? At this time, the dagger pops up a projection screen. No, Yian didn't like it, and his behavior was broadcast live. Even in the admissions of institutions of higher learning, a large part of the evaluation comes from the content of the student's experience. To refuse to watch is to refuse a huge bonus option. Basically, in the future, he will no longer be associated with higher education institutions. But Yian didn't care about that. Because in addition to academy, he has a choice. That is to go to the endless battlefield. Anyway, with the system in hand, a lonely person can live no worse than an academy. You have denied others viewing. The live room is completely disconnected. I wish you all the best in the future. The screen projected by the dagger flickered a few times and then went out completely. There was no more movement. Sporulation. The training is now officially on. Yian did not act rashly, but chose to start spilling spores on the ground. Less than a minute, these spores took root, and the white mycelium began to spread under Yian's feet. Some spores blown away by the wind. It also grows mycelium rapidly. The hyphae in the last two places are connected to each other and continue to spread to other places. At the same time, these mycelium also grow some mushrooms in a cool place. These mushrooms also ripen quickly and then burst open. A breeze blows. Countless spores flew away from the bursting mushrooms. The speed of reproduction is really fast. But if the wind stops, the speed of this spread will be a bit slower than that of the place of experience. And there are certain requirements for soil. Yian observed. In some places that are too dry, their own spores will not take root and sprout at all. However, the mycelium can be directly spread over it. Because the nutrition of mycelium comes from other places. Then let me take the initiative to spread it. Yian looked around, an idea suddenly popped into his mind. Not long after, on a nearby tree, the mother bird, who had just fed her child, flew into the distance with spores invisible to the naked eye. Seeing this scene, Yian smiled. Then sit cross-legged on the floor. While cultivating, wait for the spread of your own spore creatures. ... Mr. Liu, Yian, student number 10,086, is your student. Inside the school's office, the school leaders and teachers sat at a huge long table, each staring at a screen and watching the live broadcast of the students. At this time, it has been 5 days since the start of the experience. In 5 days, the situation of the students will probably be known. Those outstanding students have left their names on the top of the standings. The headmaster, who had nothing to do, glanced at the points rankings of the whole federation, and then looked at the points rankings of his own school. Start looking down again. Finally, he found that there was a student. Points turned out to be 0. At first, he thought that this student died unexpectedly when the experience started. However, it was found that the student named Yian showed that he was in the process of training. That is, this Yian. 5 days to no avail. Even if you walk a distance of 1 kilometer, you can get a point. 0 points means 5 days, and he didn't even walk the distance of 1 kilometer from the initial point. It's my student, Lu Ruhua replied, feeling the headmaster's angry tone. She also started searching for Yian's situation. 0 points, the first to last, even if it is the second to last, there are at least dozens of points. See this. Lu Ruhua was also puzzled. It can be said that in this world, no one knows this student better than her. Usual school martial arts training. Yian also performed well and was definitely ranked in the top 3 in the class. He just doesn't like to be in the limelight, so he deliberately keeps his strength. As for being afraid to move, That's even more impossible. Although Yi is cautious, he is by no means timid. Hee 0 points. I'm here to see what you, a student, want to do. Don't be so scared that you don't dare to practice and explore. Seeing Lu Ruhua admit it, the principal laughed angrily. The idea of the extraordinary is to fight against the sky and the earth. After countless trials, achievements surpass the will and strength of mortals. Those who are submissive and withdrawn are not destined to achieve much. If you are really afraid of the experience, you can quit directly. Instead of staying put and doing nothing. This is the biggest failure. If it spreads out, there is a student in my school who has a 0 score for 5 days. His face, the principal, had to be swollen. No, it may have already spread. This half-month experience is not only qualified for school leaders and teachers to view, but everyone can watch it. Although the number of new people awakened every year is huge, there are hundreds of millions of people on average. No one should notice the existence of this bottom. After all, most people's eyes are either on the beautiful female students, or on the top students in the standings. A Yian with a 0 score almost nobody cares about. But nothing is absolute. Don't watch. He closed the live broadcast room from the beginning. At this time, Lu Ruhua sighed and said, after learning of Yian's strangeness, she immediately checked. It turned out that Yian did not live broadcast at all. It suits his cautious character. But it also made it impossible for others to understand Yian's current situation. Okay, very good. 5 days with 0 points, don't dare to start a live broadcast. How did you teach this teacher? This month? No, next semester's excellent teacher evaluation will not have your share. The principal said angrily. Lu Ruhua's expression did not change. She doesn't lack the extra bonus of being a good teacher. As for this reputation, she doesn't care. She is just curious now, what exactly is Yian going to do? After all, after integrating the origin of symbiosis, he dared to choose 2 bottles of awakening potion. Absolutely confident in yourself. Therefore, it is impossible to not guess at the slightest movement. Asterisk. Symbiotic Spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 6. Chapter 6. Control the whole map, the fruit of spiritual power. In 5 days, the entire map was finally covered. Number 9527 Experience Place. Yian slowly opened his eyes. Through the 2 capabilities of fuzzy perception and intelligence sharing, he can be sure his own spores completely occupy the entire map. Further out, it is the boundary of the field constructed by a huge enchantment. The most powerful monster seems to be the Darkmoon Wildkin at the peak of bronze. There are also many other bronze-level monsters. Although my cultivation base has successfully broken through bronze in these 5 days. But the symbiote has almost no combat power. Now I can't beat the monsters that are also bronze. But I, who have opened the full picture vision, only need to avoid monster groups and powerful individuals. You can find those weak monsters and start. Yian analyzed. Fuzzy perception is more than just providing a mosaic-like field of view. There is also a vague concept of the power of the monster's breath. In addition, Yian compared the knowledge of the monster illustration book that he had memorized. You can tell what type and level of monster this is. As for the students, there seem to be 91 other people besides me. In other words, in 5 days, 8 people fell or quit. Sure enough, it's right to be cautious. No matter how brave you are, it's useless if you are just a reckless man. Yian exclaimed. Fortunately, the source of his symbiosis was spores, and he waited patiently for 5 days for the spores to spread to the entire training area. Otherwise run around. Maybe these 8 people become 9 people. The next step is to act. If you want to grow and progress, the necessary battles are inevitable. Yian got up and left in the direction of vision from the mycelium. After an hour, Yian flicked the blood from the dagger. Beside him, a bronze-level demon wolf that had been seriously injured was completely dead. It didn't want to understand until it died, how this human appeared behind it. Yian, on the other hand, was tearing apart the mycelium wrapped around himself to cover up his figure and odor. Start to use a dagger to open the head of the demon wolf. Good luck, there is a bronze-level crystal nucleus. Yian looked at the crystal nucleus the size of a fingernail with a satisfied expression. It is then swallowed directly into the abdomen. Ding, a spiritual shock was detected. It is recommended that the host use it to awaken new abilities. Ding, please choose the direction of awakening. At this time, the system suddenly appeared and prompted. System, I continue to awaken the sequence before, what abilities can I get? Or, what sequence do you think is better for me to awaken? A bronze-level crystal nucleus can awaken his symbiotic origin again, which is expected. Most newcomers will almost awaken their new abilities when they swallow a bronze-level crystal core for the first time. Unless the source of symbiosis is too powerful, one crystal nucleus will not be enough. Of course, not everyone chooses the new ability. Some people will also use it to improve their own cultivation, or to strengthen the ability of the first awakening. Ding, in the current state, it is recommended that the host strengthen the ability to absorb. The system doesn't even have a deduction process this time. The answer is given directly. Drain ability, then awaken a new sequence. Yian nodded. The power of the crystal nucleus was guided and absorbed by him. To his will, his symbiotic origin also began to awaken new abilities. Ding, congratulations to the host, awakening the drain sequence ability. You have acquired the ability of enhanced absorption and energy storage. Soon, the system gave a prompt. This ability is amazing. Feel your newly awakened ability. Yian suddenly widened his eyes. Strengthened absorption allows his mycelial roots to absorb flesh and blood essence and spiritual power. As for energy storage, a new mushroom can be born to store the absorbed energy. Equivalent to an alternative crystal nucleus. And whether it is the blood essence of Warcraft, or the spiritual power absorbed from the soil and air. All can be stored. In the end, if you don't do anything yourself, you can get a lot of spiritual power. Anyway, let's test it first. Yian's thoughts moved slightly. A trail of white mycelium began to cling to the wolf demon's body. It didn't take long for the wolf demon's body to be completely occupied by white mycelium. The moment these hyphae were contaminated with the wolf demon corpse, it began to frantically absorb the essence of flesh and blood. In less than 5 minutes, the fresh corpse was completely reduced to a mummified corpse. Even Yian could feel a single thought. These white hyphae even want to drain the marrow of the wolf demon. But the bones are too hard. Although it can be absorbed, the efficiency will have to be delayed until next year. Although the essence of the bones is a lot, it doesn't matter. I just don't know how much spiritual power a demon wolf's corpse can provide. Yian crouched down, picked a fruit like a wild strawberry that grew at his feet. Put it in your mouth and give it a light bite. A sweet taste emerges. The huge aura also entered the abdomen and was absorbed by Yian. About 1/10 of the crystal core of the demon wolf. It's not much, but it's not too little. At least it is comparable to a black iron level crystal nucleus. And it's just one, and my spore hyphae are all over the area. In 5 days, other players killed a lot of monsters. And there are many people who died in the infighting among the beasts. Even if it's rotten, my mycelium can still absorb it. Yian said happily, but soon after, the expression on his face gradually began to dissipate. His plan was right, but there was still an accident. Those essential spiritual powers cannot be transported to him. It's not that it can't be transported at all, it's just that the efficiency is too slow. And there are losses. The distance of 100 meters can be said to be the limit. Any more, and the energy lost is too great, and the efficiency will be completely slowed down. 100 meters is fine. At least it can keep me out of danger and hide the fruit. I just have to run. Yian sighed. Originally, I thought that I would wait for the fruits of victory without moving. It seems that this idea has to wait for later. The other side. Inside the school, Lu Ruhua, who had been watching the live broadcast and staring at the students' points, suddenly moved her eyes. The student with a 0 score had a score of 100 or so. Suddenly there are more than 100, which means that he killed a bronze elementary monster. Those points should be brought by the move. After 5 days of silence, we finally started to act. But why are you acting now? Lu Ruhua stared at Yian's ranking information and fell into contemplation. Oh, this student has more than 100 points. It doesn't look like a complete waste. But as timid as a mouse, it is destined to not go too far. At this time, the principal also noticed the change in Yian's points. He snorted involuntarily. The 7th. This fruit contains a lot of energy. Unfortunately, it's still a long way from my level promotion. Yian pushed aside a mushroom, picked a hidden red fruit and put it in his mouth. To the bronze level. Want to upgrade? The spiritual power spent must be more than 10 times that of the entire black iron level. Even in the place of experience, he has to rely on the words of cultivation. To level up, it will take at least 10 days and a half. So if you really want to become stronger quickly, you must rely on hunting monsters to obtain crystal cores. Asterisk. Symbiotic Spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 7. Chapter 7. Evolve again, hunt for the whole map. Ding, you devoured enough spiritual power this time to awaken new abilities. As many spiritual fruits were eaten, the system prompt also sounded. Yian also fell into contemplation at the same time. He doesn't need to fight at all to become stronger now. There is no need to use this opportunity to awaken the 2 sequences of poison and parasitism. It seems that there is no need to add new abilities to those who have already awakened. Then awaken the evolution sequence. Yian decided. Then close your eyes and start waking up. Ding, the awakening evolution sequence is successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining ability enhancement and probabilistic evolution. All the current capabilities of the host have been strengthened, and the potential of the host symbiont has increased. Now the host symbionts have a very low probability to evolve new abilities on their own. A series of system prompts sounded. Yian suddenly widened his eyes. He chose to awaken the evolution sequence, but he had no choice. But I didn't expect that this sequence ability would bring me such a big improvement. The original, fuzzy perception, has become perception. The picture also changed from a mosaic to a black and white ink painting. Although he still couldn't see the faces around him, he could see the specific outlines clearly. The name, intelligence sharing, has not changed, but it allowed Yian to perceive things in other areas more quickly. In the past, although it can be perceived, there will always be a delay if the distance is too far. Latency is now reduced and the range that can be quickly perceived has increased a lot. Other skills have also been enhanced. Moreover, his own primitive spores also have the ability to awaken spontaneously. While this probability is low, there is always a chance. In the future, I will improve the ability of the evolution sequence. This probability will definitely increase gradually. Now I finally understand how powerful this primitive spore is. Although it was weak at the beginning, the potential is really huge. If this continues to grow, one day in the future, will I be able to easily harvest a planetary world by myself? Yian not only began to fantasize that his own spores would spread to the planets of the endless world in the future. At that time, these spores multiply rapidly, and then spread toxins and so on to kill all life on the planet. Then draw the essence of their flesh. In the end, it will be turned into a spiritual fruit and provided to yourself. Of course it's just a thought. In the current situation, there is still a long way to go. Therefore, it is imperative to get through the early stage first. Although now he is very powerful, but not suitable for combat. Thought here, Yian was lost in thought again. It's actually quite simple to get through the early days. That's a waste of resources. But he, no matter his past or present life, is so innocent that he has no relatives alive. If you want resources, you have to get it yourself. For Yian himself, the best resource that can be obtained at present is. Yian looked at his feet. This newcomer training area is the biggest resource for me. So before the half-month deadline, I have to plunder as much as possible. Otherwise, whether I enter the academy or the endless world in the future, my ability is simply not enough to see. We must seize every opportunity to grow. After moving for so long, why haven't the points increased? Inside the office, Lu Ruhua looked at Yian's points data with some doubts. At this time, Yian's points were more than 130. But these points are increasing one by one. In other words, it's all about the points that come with moving. And after moving such a long distance, he didn't encounter a single monster. This is very abnormal. When encountering powerful monsters, it is normal to be unable to fight and escape. But it didn't move for so long, and all the monsters encountered were unbeatable. After all, before Yian, he killed a monster in the early bronze stage and got 100 points. So what's up with him? Is it possible to avoid all the monsters? He might have really awakened the exploratory type. But for what purpose? It's a pity I don't know the origin of his symbiosis, otherwise it's easy to speculate. Lu Ruhua sighed. At the same time, he looked at a table in front of him. This is a letter of recommendation for students from various universities. She originally wanted to write Yi An's name to give Yi An a chance to enter a higher education institution. But Yi An's performance made her really dare not write. Because the choice of the school is only once. If you can't get into an institution of higher learning, then you can't get into an ordinary institution. So writing it now will only hurt Yi An. But it's still too early to finish the training. Not in a hurry either. Finally collected a circle. So many fruits, I don't know how many times my symbiotic origin can be awakened. In the place of practice, Yi An found a secluded place to sit down. The surrounding mycelium began to cling, eventually forming a room to wrap Yi An. System, can you deduce the situation? Yi An asked. Ding, the deduction begins. The host's current spiritual power is enough to awaken 3 times. Or let the host's cultivation level enter the middle stage of bronze. The system replied, is this still a choice? For me, cultivation is meaningless. The strength of the symbiote is everything. As long as my spores are strong enough, it's just a blink of an eye to improve my cultivation. The source of symbiosis wants to awaken new abilities or strengthen existing abilities. All need to absorb a large amount of spiritual power in a short period of time. On the contrary, if the absorbed spiritual power is not enough, it can only be used to improve cultivation. But for Yi An, there is nothing to improve now. When the source of symbiosis becomes stronger, it only makes sense for one's own cultivation to go up. At the same time, the cultivation base is improved too fast, and it is easy to cause the foundation to be unstable. And for this experience, the bronze level is enough. No need to keep improving. Toxin, parasite, wake up these 2 sequences. Last chance, to improve the evolution sequence. Let's wait and see what abilities these 2 sequences can awaken. Thought here, Yi An picked up a fruit and ate it. Feel what's going on in your body. The second fruit, the third fruit. Wait until you can wake up. Yi An just stopped. Awaken the toxin sequence. Yi An murmured. It was a hint to himself. The awakening then proceeded smoothly. Not long after, the system prompt sounded. Ding, congratulations to the host for successfully awakening the toxin sequence. Your symbiotic origin has gained 2 abilities, paralyzing, and blinding. The specific effect will be determined according to the opponent's toxin intake and physical strength resistance. See the system prompt. A smile appeared at the corner of Yi An's mouth. Paralysis goes hand in hand with blindness. Invincible sneak attack. And now the entire map is covered with its own spore mycelium. As long as he wanted to, all the spore hyphae in the entire map could emit toxins together. As for the price of using such a large power, he does not need to pay at all. Because of spreading these toxins, no spiritual power is used at all, it is the biological power of spore crops. It's like a plant that normally blooms and bears fruit. All you need is enough nutrition. And this, the mycelium mushrooms after the growth of these spores, etc., can be directly drawn from the soil. Unless Yi An directly produces toxins, this will consume part of the aura. Of course, the power will also increase. Direct toxins are generated on the entire map, and other students will suffer as well. Although my toxin is not fatal, I will be fine when it is checked. But my abilities will inevitably be exposed at that time. And other players can't act, they will definitely hate me at that time. So, as a cautious man, he didn't want to make enemies. I don't even like to expose my abilities. Yi An rubbed his chin and slowly thought of a better idea. Since it is not good to hit the whole map, then change it to area strike. Pick an uninhabited area and slowly release the toxin. Then slowly expand. At that time, when other people notice the difference, they will definitely not enter the toxin range. And you can get through it yourself. It is even possible to change regions. For example, after manually cleaning up this piece of monsters, just stop releasing the poison, and then put the poison on the next target area. After the next area is cleared, you can move on to a new area. System, what about my plan? Yi An suddenly thought of the system. Since it is a deduction system, in addition to deducing the evolution direction of its own symbiotic origin and so on, It should be possible to deduce these things. Feasible. The system gave the answer immediately. This kind of plan does not even need to be deduced. In theory, there is no problem at all, but in practice, several friendly troops may be accidentally injured. But totally fine, as long as it doesn't happen to most people. The above is too lazy to check the situation, so it will not reveal anything. It happens that there is no one in my area, so let's grasp this area first. The specific range, let's slowly spread to 1/5 of the entire map. Yian gave orders to his spore crop. After the spore crop receives the command signal, through the intelligence sharing of the mycelium network, the order was quickly disseminated. A network of giant spore hyphae quickly divided 1/5 of the area centered on Yian. Then one by one mushrooms burst suddenly. After these mushrooms burst, more mushrooms quickly grew on the nearby mycelium. In less than a minute, a green toxin with 2 effects of paralysis and blindness quickly enveloped most of the area. Finally, a green poisonous mist is formed. Immediately afterwards, the poisonous mist quickly expanded outwards. When other students saw the strange situation, they also stayed away from the poisonous mist. Yian also left the white mycelium hut, looked at the lush green scenery outside, and nodded with satisfaction. For others, it's a toxic circle. But for me, it's like going home. Then it's time to unlock the parasitic sequence. Yian sat down cross-legged again. Start eating the fruit. Ding, congratulations to the host for successfully awakening the parasite sequence. Your symbiotic origin spore has acquired 2 characteristics of latent and basic parasitism. Your symbiotic origin spores are enhanced with vitality due to the latent feature and can be exposed for a long time, so they can spread farther. Your spores can parasitize the bodies of common organisms or weaker organisms. Asterisk. Symbiotic spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 8. Chapter 8. Skill coordination. My name is Yanzu. Parasitic. The ability of the sequence is similar to what Yian imagined. The name is so obvious after all. Surprisingly, the vitality of the spores has been strengthened. Parasitic plus drain. The spores I parasitized into the enemy's body will directly drain the enemy from the inside. And the parasitic conditions are weak, or weak enemies. Then in a paralyzed state, it should be considered weak. That is to say, I can try to parasitize all creatures within the range of the poisonous mist. Once the parasitism is successful, I can directly absorb the blood essence and torture the monster to death. Thought here. Yian's eyes flickered. Now, his spores are truly lethal. Although not high, but the damage range is huge. Once it starts to work, your own income will be filled directly. Just don't know how long to wait. Thinking of this, Yian began to communicate the system and began to deduce. Ding, black iron monster, it is expected to take 30 minutes to be completely paralyzed. Silver level monsters are expected to take 2 hours to be completely paralyzed. After paralysis, dark iron creatures have a 0.1% chance of parasitism. After the parasitism, it will take about a day to kill the parasitic target. The system responded quickly. 0.1% parasitic chance. Looking at the system's answer, Yian subconsciously frowned. This probability is not too low, it can only be said that it is too rubbish. But then Yian realized that he was wrong. The parasitic probability should be the parasitic probability of each spore. And with every breath, thousands of spores will enter the monster's body. The odds of one spore are low, but with thousands of spores, there will always be 1 or 2 parasites that succeed. Once a parasitism succeeds, the spore will quickly take root and germinate to absorb blood essence and multiply quickly. A little more than a day, it's not too slow compared to such a large range. But before that, continue to improve yourself. Yian touched his chin and said. He has found it now. The 6 sequences of its own original spores, and their abilities complement each other. Taking it out alone may not be strong, but together, it is enough to describe it as against the sky. Therefore, the next awakening opportunity must be carefully considered. The remaining awakening opportunity, just use it to improve the ability enhancement of the evolution sequence. There is no need to awaken new abilities now. On the contrary, it is a good choice to strengthen the existing abilities as a whole. Yian thought about it and finally made a choice. He already knew the characteristics of his own primitive spores. In this newcomer training area, his existing abilities and characteristics are completely sufficient. Instead of rushing to awaken new abilities, it is better to strengthen existing abilities. And he has enough ability to awaken in a short period of time. It's also time to take a break and carefully polish the existing abilities. Under normal circumstances, there is no one like him, and the bronze level has awakened so many abilities. Being able to awaken 3 is considered high in the eyes of others. Even many people will not awaken the second ability before the silver level. Instead, it has been strengthening and polishing the first ability. Because in the early stage, the ability is not the more the better, but the more powerful and exquisite, the more familiar you are, the better. Too many words, it is easy to be mixed and not refined. And it is easy to lead to the instability of the symbiotic origin. Although he didn't have any troubles in this regard. Ding, your ability enhancement has evolved into ability sublimation. All your basic abilities have been greatly improved. Your skill, ability sublimation, has reached its limit. If you continue to improve in the current state, there is a 70% chance of failure. Soon, the system prompt sounded. Sure enough, there is a limit to the improvement of ability now. That's why the teacher said that before the gold level, the main thing is to polish the proficiency of the ability and focus on improving the cultivation base. Yian said with a slight sigh. If there is no such limit, he will not have to awaken any new abilities. Just keep strengthening the ability of the evolution sequence. After all, the ability of this sequence is the most cost-effective. A few hours later, Yian stepped out of the range of the poisonous fog. Behind him, 2 women followed closely. Okay, there's no poisonous smog ahead. The toxins of these poisonous mists are not too powerful. Next, you can find a safe place to rest for half a day, and the impact will almost be eliminated. Yian said kindly to the 3 students. Thank you, classmate, or I'll be completely unconscious in it. I don't know what your name is, classmate, that planet, your specific address, cough. In short, I have written down this favor, and I will definitely repay it in the future. A girl asked Yian's face blankly, until another girl secretly kicked her. She realized that she had asked too much. No, you have to be humble. This classmate, do you want to form a team with us next? What I have awakened is the healing ability. She is an attacking skill. If you follow us, how about half the profit? At this time, another girl asked with a shy expression on her face. You're welcome, just call me Yanzu. As for forming a team, I have to go in and save people. With such a wide range of poisonous fog, I don't know how many people are trapped in it. I have to try my best to save a few more people. Yian said righteously. In a few words, in the eyes of the 2 women, Yian is already a tall and majestic image. Why don't we go with you? I don't know if this poisonous fog will have any effect on Warcraft. If you encounter Warcraft alone. A girl said. His eyes were full of worry and admiration. Yes, our fighting power is not weak, if it weren't for this poisonous fog too strange. Another girl followed suit, but Yian refused. No, the ability to dispel the poisonous mist consumes too much spiritual power in my body. If I am alone, the consumption is not high. Take your words again. Anyway, I can do it alone. You can rest here well, there is no need to worry about me. Yian waved his hand, with a generous look on his face, turned around and stepped into the poisonous mist. The 2 women looked reluctant. But there is no way. Oh, it's a pity, I finally met such a handsome and kind-hearted guy. As a result, no contact information was available. A girl sighed as she watched Yian's disappearing back. Don't worry, we already know his name. When the experience is over, I'll ask someone to check it out, and I should be able to find it. Another girl said confidently. She can let her best friend practice with her. It is absolutely simple to inquire about the contact information of Yanzu. Asterisk. Symbiotic Spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 9. Chapter 9. Continue to evolve, basic neurons. Thanks to the big flowers. Finally send the person away, and then you can rest assured to implement the plan. These 2 women, they have nothing to do with the poisonous fog. Inside the poisonous mist, Yian said with a sigh of relief. The 2 women who suddenly broke in for the brain show. Yian originally didn't want to pay attention. But considering that they have no grievances or enmity with them, nor do they have too many conflicts of interest. In case something goes wrong. He was a little troubled inside. It happened that he was also nearby at the time, not too far away from the poisonous fog. Yian kindly woke them up and sent them out. Yes, just pure kindness. It has nothing to do with them being beautiful and having a big white rabbit or something. Absolutely nothing. ... It feels connected. A lot of flesh and blood essence. And it's gradually increasing. Looks like it's harvest time. The day passed quickly. Yian, who was lying on the soft mycelium bed, suddenly opened his eyes with excitement. Immediately, he began to sense the perspective of the spore mushroom. Seeing one monster after another, completely fell to the ground. Countless white hyphae spread out from the inside of the body. These hyphae are connected to the white hyphae blankets on the ground. And the mycelium on the ground quickly wrapped the monster corpse. This wave of harvest is against the sky. The only downside is that the transmission distance has been increased to 10,000 meters. But these flesh and blood essences, I have to pick them myself. Even so, Yian's expression was still happy. After all, picking the fruits formed by these flesh and blood essences is picking money for Yian. Serious people who dislike the trouble of picking up money. Leave the crystal nucleus for the time being, and absorb the fruit of the flesh and blood essence first. No, it should be gathered and absorbed again. Yian said with a happy expression. Bronze-level monster crystal cores start at 100,000. Even if it is a black iron level, the minimum must be broken. This is for Yian, whose monthly living expenses are only 300 or 500. This is undoubtedly a huge harvest. 5 hours later. Yian's expression became solemn. He noticed that something seemed wrong. Run for 5 hours picking resources. As a result, only 1/10 of the range of the poisonous fog was covered. I forgot about this one. Even if it is a training map of 100 people, the area is still too large to die. My spores can be completely disseminated in 5 days, mainly because of the help of birds and beasts. But if I am moving at full speed, half a month is simply not enough time to walk the entire map. Not to mention that half of the training time has passed now. Yian suddenly didn't know whether to cry or laugh. Although the harvest is rich, there are more resources at your fingertips, and you can only watch and can't collect it. No, what's in the bowl is mine, and what's in the pot must also be mine. Since the problem is that I can't collect so many fruits. Then solve this problem first. Yian said unwillingly. It's like a room full of gold coins, but you can only take one pocket with you. Although it is also a huge sum of money, it is compared with the wealth in the house. A pocket of gold coins is not fragrant at all. Let's deduce the system. I need to awaken the ability of that sequence to solve the current problem. Yian's communication system asked. In case of trouble, find the system. With such a gold finger there, he didn't need to infer it at all. Ding, it is expected to awaken 2 more growth sequences. And 1 perception sequence. The spiritual power units currently stored by the host are just ready to be activated. The system quickly gave an answer. Twice to grow, 1 to perceive. Yian didn't understand, but still believed in the system. After all, the answer was deduced by the system. It's more reliable than fooling around. And I've been picking for so long, and I can only wake up 3 times. It seems that the more the ability is awakened, the more spiritual power is required. Yian sighed with emotion. Then, unceremoniously, the picked fruits were quickly swallowed into the belly one by one. The spiritual power that is more than his own body's spiritual power burst out. But it hasn't waited for this spiritual power to wreak havoc. It was actively pulled over by a unique spore imprint. It disappears completely soon. Ding, congratulations to the host's successful awakening growth sequence ability. Acquired 2 characteristics of mycelium enhancement and energy conduit. After your spores grow, the vitality of the mycelium is greatly enhanced, and the nutrient transport pipeline has evolved into an energy transport pipeline, which can transport nutrients quickly and without consumption. Ding, congratulations to the host's successful awakening perception sequence ability. Acquired basic neuron properties. Now you can give more precise orders through the mycelium network. When operating remotely, you can view the situation faster and more clearly, while reducing the consumption of mental power. A series of system prompts sounded. The smile on Yi Yan's mouth also appeared again. Then the mind moved slightly. An order was quickly issued through the neuron. In less than a minute, a dark red fruit appeared beside Yi Yan. Then his eyes swept around. One fruit after another quickly grew out. Look at the fruits of different sizes. Yi Yan gave an order again. Immediately afterwards, most of the skinny fruits dissipated completely. The other part of the fruit is more plump. It's much more pleasing to the eye, and it's also easier to pick. Look at the fruits the size of ping-pong balls. Yi Yan showed a satisfied expression. It's just too many. After picking for a while, Yi Yan encountered the trouble of happiness. Too many things to put down. Then it's all used to awaken the ability. Only 1/5 of the map has now been cleared, so there are so many resources. Even if you use the storage space, you can't put it down at all. And the price is terribly expensive. Yi Yan glanced at the dagger on his waist and said, the weapon formed by this initial shield. It works a lot. Not only can live broadcast, but also record the number and level of monsters killed by players. You can also teleport away from the training ground. In addition, there is a very useful function. That's storage space. It's just that the previous abilities are free, but if you want to use the storage space, you have to spend money. But speaking of ability, Yi Yan also found out. You can only awaken 2 abilities when you activate a certain sequence for the first time. If you continue to awaken new abilities, you can only increase them one by one. Yi Yan speculated that it was probably when a certain sequence ability was awakened for the first time. Will automatically wake up an additional time. It is a hidden feature of its own symbiotic object. Then Yi Yan asked the system. Found to be so. Primordial spores are weak, but in terms of evolution and awakening ability. But it is unmatched by any other creature. Asterisk. Symbiotic spores. Hundreds of millions of deductions, infinite evolution. 10. Chapter 10. Continue to evolve, students join forces. Ding, congratulations to the host on the success of strengthening the growth sequence. Your ability, rapid growth, has evolved into rapid growth. Your ability, rapid reproduction, has evolved into rapid reproduction. Your ability, mycelium enhancement, has been successfully strengthened, and the name remains the same. Your ability, energy pipe, has been successfully strengthened, and the name remains the same. Ding, congratulations to the host's success in strengthening the perception sequence. Your abilities, perception, and intelligence sharing, have been successfully strengthened, and the name remains the same. Your ability, basic neurons, evolved into lower neurons. The system suggests. Ding, congratulations to the host for successfully evolving the perception sequence. Your abilities, perception, intelligence sharing, and low-level neurons merge and evolve into basic neural networks. After the merger and evolution, the original ability remains unchanged and strengthened, and new characteristics are extended at the same time. Ding, congratulations to the host for successfully strengthening the toxin sequence. Your ability, paralysis, evolved into strong paralysis. Your ability, blind, has evolved into powerful blind. Ding, congratulations to the host, your ability, probability evolution, is activated. You have awakened the new ability, sleeping, of the toxin sequence. Ding, congratulations to the host on the success of strengthening the parasitic sequence. Your ability, lurking, has evolved into dormant. Your ability, basic parasitism, has evolved into powerful parasitism. Ding, the storage of spiritual power is insufficient. It is recommended that the host suspend strengthening. With such a crazy strengthening ability, in the low realm, I am afraid that only I can do this. Listen to the system prompts. Feel the change in your abilities. Yi Yan not only sighed, absorbed the huge energy accumulated by so much flesh and blood essence. All fed to the symbiont. Such a huge amount of energy, in other people's words. It has long been because the source of symbiosis absorbed too much energy and could not keep up with itself, resulting in the instability of the source. It can even be said that their symbiotic origin may not be able to absorb so much energy. And Yi Yan's ability of symbiotic origin has not even been completely strengthened. Therefore, there is still a lot of room for further strengthening. It's time to continue to expand the scope of the poisonous mist. Yi Yan closed his eyes again. Start planning the scope of the poisonous fog expansion. Dozens of people get together. What is this for? At this time, feel the information coming from the neural network. Yian showed a puzzled expression. At the same time, he found that there seemed to be people around him moving towards the crowd. What happened? Forget it, it has nothing to do with me anyway. And I can also monitor their movements at any time. Curious for a moment, Yian ignored it. Instead, it continued to release poisonous mist. Moreover, the gathering of this group of people also gave him a huge convenience. That is, people are not scattered. Most places are without students, and his poisonous mist can be released arbitrarily. And the toxin has not only been improved, but also the effect of drowsiness. This time the efficiency has been improved even more. Ching ran, why are there so many people here? I don't know, maybe there is something wrong, let's go and ask. In the forest, two female figures slowly walked out. With curious expressions, they looked at the crowd gathered in a clearing outside. Are you two new here? At this moment, a male student wearing classical clothes came over and said. What's the situation here? A girl nodded and asked. That's it, there is a dark moon wildkin with a bronze peak in the nearby hill. And it will soon be advanced to the silver level. My idea is, when it is promoted successfully, when it is weakest, kill it and take out the crystal core. And these people are all I invited to help me. As long as you do it, no matter what the result is, everyone will have 50,000 yuan in hard work. If successful, each person will add an additional 100,000 yuan for hard work. By the way, under Junwei, I don't know if you two are willing to help me. A man wearing a classic white robe reported his name and invited him. It looks interesting, let's help you. A girl said. Thank you both. Now I need to continue to gather people, so I won't bother you much. Junwei arched his hands and said. Then turned to leave. The person is average, and he has no literary literacy, and he deliberately speaks in a sloppy manner. It always feels good to pretend. It's not like that Yanzu at all, so handsome and so low-key, and kind and natural. Also, what did we promise him to do? It's just a mere 100,000 pocket money. At this moment, another girl spoke up. Didn't I say, it's fun. And if you think about it, the Dark Moon Owl beasts at the peak of bronze are far more powerful than other monsters in the silver rank. Wait for it to advance to silver, how powerful do you think it is? Don't say that there are so many people now, even if there are twice as many, it is estimated that they are not the opponents of the Dark Moon Owl. If he dares to do this, he must have some confidence, but he doesn't know if the car will overturn. It's boring for us to wander around anyway, why don't we find an excuse to watch a play here? The girl called Chinbran said with a light smile. 2. The other girl nodded. They have long been recommended to various universities. They don't even care about the rewards on the standings. So to participate in the newcomer experience, that is, come and play. That's why he died before entering the poisonous fog range. The other side, when Junwei left, he went to a relatively secluded place by himself. Not long after, 3 more people came over. How's it going? Junwei asked. The Dark Moon Wildkin is in good condition and should be able to be promoted smoothly. We have also arranged the post measures. Another man spoke up. Very good, I also have a lot of people here. However, the number of people is still a little worse. If you want to meet the requirements, you need at least 80 people. Next, I will continue to recruit people everywhere. You can just pretend to be ordinary students and stay among them. Junwei said. As soon as possible, the Dark Moon Owl is also about to be promoted. We must gather enough people before it gets promoted. Another person reminded. I know, and you can rest assured. I don't know what's going on in this training area, and poisonous fog has risen in many places. The places where the rest of the players are active has been greatly reduced, and it is easy to find. Junwei said. This poisonous fog won't affect our plans, will it? At this time, someone was worried. No, I have tested the poison of the poisonous mist. It's mildly paralyzing and blinding. Along with it, people and monsters will be completely paralyzed. But for the Dark Moon Wildkin, this slight toxin has no effect at all, and it will be fine to stay in it for a long time. Even if there is a problem with the plan, someone is inside the runway's poisonous fog. Then the end can only be because of paralysis and unable to move, and was easily killed by the Dark Moon Wildkin. Gen Y's face was full of confidence.